Get everything set up here. Alright, hello. My name is Robbie. On here, I am Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God and does not go to church has a story why. But whenever two or more gather in God's name, He is there. So this is church. I'm glad you're here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about taking action. I've been playing a tabletop game with a handful of friends recently, and there's been one thing that drives me nuts about the game, and that is the ability to communicate with people. Because in this game, every single person has their character that they control, and everyone essentially is writing a story together. I mean, there's dice, there's numbers, there's math, but what it all comes down to is every person is writing a group story. The dice are there, the numbers are there so that you don't always get things to go the way you want. Perfect example, Samwise Gamgee's. He goes to investigate the well. He rolls a 1, knocks bucket into well, alerting all of the goblins of their presence. Critical fail. It happens. But the one thing that I have come to just irk me about this game is that when you're playing, when you're fighting and you're in combat, you have 6 seconds to talk, to relay to your team what you want to do. Now that drives me nuts because I'm a strategist. Before I make any moves in any game, I want to think it through, I want to communicate, I want to discuss what is the best way to win the situation we're in. And you don't get to here. And it bothers me because I want to communicate. I want me and the whole team to be on the same page. But we don't get to be. We had a situation a few weeks ago where there was a trap that I accidentally led my entire team into. Everyone who I'm playing with. We all walked into a giant trap, and I was the one who realized it. And when I realized it, I had 6 seconds to tell these people, we have to run or we're going to die. And I could not convey the message clearly enough. So half the team took off running, half the team stayed to assess the situation and see what needed to be done, and we ended up in a really monstrous fight. Thankfully, the dice were in our favor, and we all got out okay. But it was really getting to me about what could I have done differently to express the emergency in the situation. And that stayed with me for a few days, and so I was thinking about just like how this matters in real life. What do we do how do we convey to people, hey, I need you, hey, can you do this real quick? A lot of times when I think about this, it comes down to personal safety, getting people to do what you want. It's a safety issue. I have a dear friend and someone who's been a huge inspiration in my life lately. The guy's a volunteer firefighter. And I was asking him about this, and I'm like, I want to know, if you're in a building and you're fighting a fire, how do they signal the evac? How do they let you guys know that it is time to go? Lost cause, get out, be safe. Because my first thought is, okay, you go through the walkie-talkie, you say, hey, guys, it's looking like the fire's getting a little out of hand, maybe we should get out. But that gives everyone the chance to assess the situation and say, no, we got this. But he told me it's nothing like that. In the event of a fire, if they are in a burning building, fighting the fire, doing whatever, and someone sees something that turns the tide against them, they honk the horn in 3 short bursts, and they grab the fire hose, and they pull 3 short tugs. And the people on the other end of that hose, they get the jerk on it, and they hear the horn, and there's no hesitation. They turn, and they get out the building. There's no, oh, what's going on? Maybe we should see what's happening. Someone made the call to get out, so they get out. Right or wrong call, they can get outside and say, oh, whoops, I thought I saw something, my bad. But safety is always first for them. There is no taking time to figure out what's going on and deciding. It's just everybody out instantly. And I love that. Because I wish I had stuff like that in my life. Just a instant, hey, can you come do this? And it's like with my wife, I'll be playing video games and she'll come in. Hey, can you come and help with groceries? Yeah, just a minute, I gotta get to a save point, or I'm in the middle of a match or something, I'll be there in 10. Or she has other ways of saying, be here now. Gotta go see it, and I'm out. There are different ways we say things, ways we can relay a message. I think the coolest thing I've heard of was a trend that I think started on TikTok, and it is the greatest call to action. I'm going to share it here because if you don't know this, you need to know this. And it is a cry for help that is done with a hand signal. Now, for anyone who knows this, please understand I'm going to demonstrate it. I don't actually need any help or anything. But if you ever see someone, they put their thumb in and wrap their fingers over it, that's a cry for help. And it took the internet by storm for people who were dealing with human trafficking, kidnapping, domestic disputes, all sorts of dangerous situations. Someone can order a pizza and the pizza guy shows up. And they can make the hand signal and the pizza guy sees that and he recognizes, he says, this person needs help. And they can take action, either do what they need to do to help the person or inform the police and the authorities. There are so many stories about that, and I love that that is a thing, because to be able to non-verbally communicate that I need help and get people to take action, that's an amazing thing. So I wanted to share that here tonight, just in case there's anyone who doesn't know, because one day you may be somewhere and you see someone walking by and they give you that signal. They're crying out for help. Time to take action. That should not get me choked up. Not tonight. All right. I was thinking about just the whole call to action and how I can get people to respond in a way that... No, cancel that. I was... As a pastor, youth leader, Bible study leader, whatever this is, it is hard to get people to take action. Because I can sit here every week and tell you how much God loves you, but there's nothing I can do to make you make that choice. That is 100% on you. I wish there was something I could do, but I don't have the words. I do my best to convey my message and hope that one day I will say something. I will hit the magic note that gets you to take action. But until that day, I'm just going to keep being here. And I've always been baffled because if I go back and I'm looking in the Bible, man, that guy Jesus, he had those skills. He had the immediate action, instant response, life-changing decisions that nowadays almost seem silly. Like if we go back to, we're going to do a little Bible thumping right now, and this is going to be paraphrased, and for those of you who are real literal by the book, look it up, read it yourself. I'm going to give you the short version of it. So we go back to Genesis 18. This is the story about Abraham and his boy Lot. For those of you who don't know, Abraham, he was chilling in the promised land. Him and his people, they got a little too big, so they decided, hey, there's plenty of room here. Let's split this land, and we each take a piece. I'll take some, Lot, you take some. So he gives Lot the decision, and Lot decides to take a piece of land that is right next to a great city called Sodom. Name might ring a bell to some of you. So they're living, they're right on the river, they got their animals, they got their farms going, they're building their homesteads. Life is good, they got good trade. These guys are wealthy people, living large. Well, one day, Jesus shows up. In the Bible it says God, but Trinity 3 in 1. God on earth was Jesus, so I know Jesus wasn't born yet, but God can't... Sorry, I'm going into words are hard. I'm going into theory, but for God to show up on earth, it has to be a human form. That was Jesus. So Jesus shows up with two angels, and he goes and he talks to Abraham, and he's like, hey, Abraham, I appreciate what you're doing here, but that place Sodom down the road, bad news. I'm taking it out. They have lived in defiance for too long. I have to make an example of it. And Abraham, he tried to stick up for him. They had an argument. He's like, but God, like, what if there's 50 people in there? Will you save the city? And he was like, okay, fine, 50 people, I'll let it say. What about 40? Fine, if there are 40 good people there, I'll save the city. What about 30? Abraham, 20? Yes, 20 people, I'll save the city. 10. Yes, if there are 10 righteous people in that city, I will spare the city for them. He already knew. There was no one in that city. So he told Abraham, he's like, look, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. You need to go the other direction and go fast. And then he goes to Abraham's like, but my boy Lot, he lives like right next door. He's like, oh, I know, we're going to go visit him. Don't worry, we got this. So Jesus needs 2 angels. Now, I don't know what these angels look like. There's a lot of fun question about it. But if these angels are showing up in human form, I just envision these dudes wearing these huge white robes, big hoods over, just almost glowing, got their hands in their sleeves, just walking in, just glowing in aura. I can only imagine the power it took for those angels to be present on Earth, because, whew. But again, sorry. I am fascinated by angels and demons and religious theory, and that's for a different time. I apologize. I go off on tangents sometimes. Anyway, Jesus shows up and he's talking to Lot, and he's like, hey, look, man, you living too close to this city, and it's about to be in a whole lot of trouble. You need to get your family and get out. You need to go to that town up on that hillside way over there, and do not look back. I can't imagine what was going through that dude's head. Now, mind you, there was some other stuff that happened that night. Look it up if you're curious. Genesis 18:19. But Jesus just shows up and tells Lot, hey, I know you wealthy. You live in large here right by this town. But this town is bad news. I'm about to drop a tactical nuke. You need to bail. And so Lot's like, yeah, okay. Packs up what he can and takes off running. Dude's out. The whole family, they are just bailing. They got what they could. They are leaving as these angels start to walk into the city. Now, I can only imagine what it was like. But it says that the skies opened and the meteors fell and the entire city was destroyed. Man, there was an atomic blast so bright. Jesus warned them not to look back. Lot's wife did. She was instantly turned into a pillar of salt. Telling you, God don't play games. He tells you don't look back, you don't look back. And it just, that story has always been one of my favorites. I know it's kind of weird, but it's like to think of the power these angels unleashed. Again, my fascination with angels is just... But what would I say if someone were to come knocking at my door and be like, hey, Robbie, you live the closest town, you need to move now. Not in a week, not in a month, now. You need to be gone by morning. I don't know, man. I don't know if I've got the just outright belief in people to do that. I mean, granted, this was biblical times, so angels, demons were far more prevalent than they are now. But man, you gotta have some serious proof for me to buy into that. To just up and abandon everything I got here, and I'm not even rich. I'm not living large like Lot and Abraham were. I don't know if I've got what it takes to just abandon everything. But they did. Now I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We're going to go Matthew 4 for those who want the reference. Now this is when Jesus was a man on earth. After he was born, he was brought up in the church, he grew up, was all educated, and he decided it was time to start his ministry. God, what a cool time that would have been to be around. Sorry. He walks up to these guys. He's on the Sea of Galilee, just walking the coastline. And he sees these three dudes chilling there. They mending the daily catch, fixing their nets and stuff. Simon, Peter, bro Andrew, they chill and they're fishermen. That's what they do. They go out in the boats, they catch the fish, they bring the fish in, they make the money. That's what they do. And this guy they don't even know. Now, mind you, this was before Jesus was like famous and well known. This was before the miracles, before any of it. He walks up to these guys and he says, "Come with me, and I will make you fishers of men." They did. They looked at each other. Yeah, okay, good idea. Dropped their nets. Not like, well, let me sell this stuff. Let me get rid of my boat. Let me say goodbye to the fam. Let's give me a minute. No, they just, okay, we're out. Threw their nets and left and went with Jesus right then, right there. Now, for us to think about that, that's stupid. These guys just gave up everything to follow a complete stranger. But the one thing that we're not realizing when we think about this story, who was Jesus? What kind of aura did he put out? Because, man, to be able to convince complete strangers like that, just, hey, come with me and I'll make you fishers of men. I know people who are charismatic. I mean, like, legit, Mr. Crazy Mike, he's one of them. That dude's got charisma. He convinced me Twitch was where I should be. Here I am. I got a lot of faith in that Crazy Mike, man. He's doing stuff. He's inspirational. But if he told me to up and move, I wouldn't. I've had a lot of people have heavy impacts on me in my life. But I cannot think of anyone that I would give up everything for. Just legit, up, walk away, I'm out. So what does that tell us about Jesus? He's got that. Man, what a time it would have been to see. Now, people are always talking to me. Since I've started this, I've had a lot of really awesome conversations with people. And someone was asking me, it's like, Robbie, how do you know? What proof do you have? What makes you so certain? Honest truth? I don't have any proof. There is no proof. Now, before everyone gets upset about that, let me explain why I'm saying that. I cannot do anything to prove to you that God exists. I know he does 100% because I've seen it in my life. But everything I could tell you, you could say is a coincidence. And that was part of God's plan. Because if Jesus showed up tomorrow, starts walking the earth, performing the miracles he did, eventually we would be able to have that proof. People would hit him up, news crews, everyone would get there. And Jesus could prove that he is God's son, he does miracles, he could prove it all. I mean, he got people just to up and walk away. He's the Son of God. There's nothing he couldn't do. If he showed up, he could prove it 100%. But that wasn't the objective. Jesus didn't come here and die for us to force us to believe in him. Because that's what would happen if we had that undeniable truth. Granted, there would still be people who would reject it. But there's also people who say the earth is flat. Once it is proven, you have to believe it. And that's not what God wanted. He did not want people to follow him because they had to. God wants followers because they choose to. He's got the angels. They have to believe in him. They know. They're there. They're a part of it. The angels have no choice but to believe. As humans, we don't. We're given that choice. That's the whole purpose of it. That's why Jesus came here, to bridge that gap. So that the people who choose God, who choose Jesus, who choose a life of faith, can have that reward and go to heaven and spend eternity in endless celebration. We have the choice. So I can't prove it to you. You have to choose to prove it to yourself. And that can be hard sometimes. People ask, well, how do you know? How do you see these signs? How does Jesus talk to you? Are you listening? Do I ever actually sit down with Jesus and engage in these little comical conversations that I relay every week? No, they're stories. It's how I interpret the conversation. But every day, I sit down and I talk to him. And I see where the conversation goes. And I look for signs. I wait for him to impact my heart. When I'm practicing these lessons, I'm waiting to see where God takes me. This is not where I was expecting him to take me tonight, so this is a bit new for me, and it's hitting me. Because every time I reach out and I talk to him, I don't hear a physical voice. I feel it. And I'm led in a direction that he takes me. So for people who don't feel it, are you driving down the highway just staring straight at the lines? Or are you looking at all the billboards God's throwing up? Man, that's why I got these neon sign emotes. Hopefully people can spam a few in chat for me. I got these neon sign emotes because God is all over the place trying to get your attention. He just needs you to look up from the road for 2 seconds and see what he's doing. Are you giving God the opportunity to lead you? Are you listening for him to talk to you? You would be amazed what you will see when you start looking for God's impact in your life. You will be amazed by what you see when you start looking for God's impact in your life. Man, I'm sorry, that just hit me, but there is so much power in that. When you are looking for God's impact in your life, all the things you will see, if you're just watching for what he is doing through you. When God completely derails my lesson plans and takes me completely off my notes and sends me somewhere. Man, can I get everyone to type that out real quick? I want to make sure you all heard that. You will be amazed by what you see when you start looking for God's impact in your life. If there's anything you take away tonight, oh man, sorry, there's some power in that I was not ready for. If you give him the opportunity to show you, if you give him the opportunity to talk, if you're listening, man, that's